Apparitions of a world that never was, forgotten stories unfold, and people woven back into the fabric of reality. The final conclusion is yet to be determined, but the journey into this alternate universe continues. Welcome, dear viewers, to Dark Interval Part 2. If you've been fond of the Half-Life 2 beta in the past couple of years, then I don't think this mod needs an introduction. But for those new, Dark Interval is a mod that aims to recreate Half-Life 2 in a very different way. It follows an earlier draft of the story with characters that were cut, where places like City 17 looked much different, and Gordon's sequences of events were completely different than what we see in the retail game. I have talked about this mod many times before, making videos over the years, streaming it from time to time, but very recently, Part 2 was released, which is a very major update. If I recall correctly, Part 1 had the first 3 chapters, Part 2 Alpha had Chapter 4 and 5, and now this release adds in 3 more chapters, so that's a total of 8 chapters in the whole game. This gives you almost 5 to 7 hours of gameplay packed to the brim with fantastic looking maps and the content within them. When I covered Part 2 Alpha, I did talk about Chapter 4 and 5. However, I'll quickly recap them since they are a part of this final release and they have been updated as well. So let's see what's new. Chapter 4 Incandescence starts right after the failed teleportation scene. Gordon ran away from the lab and now he has to dodge the Combine and find a safe space. Immediately you will notice the new chatter between the Combine.
Team leader, I've arrived at the emergency exit, awaiting further orders.
Attention, District Commander Zamo speaking. All citizens of this district are charged with breaching public safety and committing illegal activity on condemned territory. You will be subjected to preliminary arrest and questioning. Local security systems are reactivated. Attempts to evade or resist arrest or to destroy evidence of criminal activities will be submitted.
We get introduced to District Commandant Sabo, who's basically in charge of overseeing this district of City 17. Speaking of City 17, there's something about the style and design of Dark Interval that I find very interesting. Like, it's not retail, and it's not that super polluted style of the beta, but it's its own thing, and it's awesome. Another thing I want to say is that I'm playing this on the easy difficulty. One thing I've personally experienced, and it's also a major feedback that I've seen, is that the game is actually quite challenging on normal. So if you're a casual like me and want to check this out, definitely play it on the easy difficulty. You'll have a great time. This is a really nice touch. You can see that the citizens are scared of Gordon. Like, I would be too if there's a dude that looks like an orange tank. It comes out of nowhere and starts shooting the cops. They're afraid and they'll run away if you try to approach them. This idea is further expanded upon as you play the game. Back to Commandant Sabo. Through your journey, you'll be hearing from him over the loudspeakers in the city. This idea of the communication between the Combine is further expanded upon as well when we'll receive the radio later on. I'll try to point out as much as I can, at least the things that I noticed myself.
Attention, District Commander Zamo speaking. We are receiving evidence of citizens ignoring decision to support malignant elements. Do not interfere with protection forces and cooperate.
This is the first of many places that look amazing. Like, the overall atmosphere, the rundown nature of it just hits me hard. Also, here you can notice the citizens are freaking out. In one instance, they even picked up the gun and tried to shoot me, although I couldn't get that on camera. If I were to compare this to the retail game, specifically how Root Canal plays out, I'd say this is a much more dramatic, action-packed, and diverse section. You'll be going through all sorts of places while trying to escape the Combine. Warehouses, old or destroyed apartments, closed-off city blocks, and everything in between. And all the while, like I've said before, you'll be looking at some fantastic visuals. Although it's a tiny scene, I love how it's shown, like Gordon's actions have repercussions on the citizens. Like this dude was siphoning fuel from this tanker behind the Combine's back, but with all the hubbub that we caused, we pretty much ruined his hustle, and to a certain extent, his life as well.
Jesus Christ, where the hell did you come from? What are you wearing? Who? You're with that egghead. Is that right? That quack screwed up, and now Zabo's pigs are all over the district. God damn it, I spent 5 weeks siphoning the fuel from that old tanker, and now what? They're gonna be raiding here for days, shut down the entire trade route. Marvelous shit, screw this. Screw you and screw those losers from the workhouses, I'm done.
And just when it couldn't get any worse for this poor fella, we actually have to destroy that fuel tanker so we can progress further.
Walking tin can full of nuts.
I legitimately feel bad for this dude. I just love when mods do this, I yapped about it in a previous video, that when a mod opens up to a new area, like a whole new scene to look at, and the player goes, whoa. Entering this abandoned hospital, I presume, we get into one hell of an encounter. Here you can see elite Metro cops rocking the Magnum, and there's also the cremator, and a lot of Metro cops. I do gotta mention, even if the attack indicator is a small addition, it is a very impactful addition. Like, it immediately tells you where you're getting shot at from, it gives you an idea where to look, Anyway, we turn off these 2 power generators, which opens up the path ahead. Man, I love this dirty and grimy and ruined industrial aesthetic of this city. It's just like Karachi. Then we finally meet up with Barney and Kleiner.
God, Gordon. I've never seen the Metro Police riled up like that. Not even during the riots. I got Kleiner with me. I was going to escort him out of the sector under my clearance, but the cops already showed up by the time we were done with the lab. Would have been too risky. Oh, Gordon, you're here. I'm afraid we'll have to postpone our scientific endeavors. You see, we had to evacuate in a hurry.
I must say, Barney's voice actor did a pretty good job at his lines, and Kleiner feels like Kleiner, but there's just a smidgen of a thing off. I think his style is very much like Kleiner's, but his actual voice itself, it makes him feel quite younger. Still, Kleiner's voice actor did a pretty good job.
Well, the cops are wising up to him. He'll only be out of their reach on the other side of the wall. Wait, Doc, shouldn't we tell him about the suit radio too? What? Yes, the suit's communication interface is largely automated, similar to most of its functions. In theory, it should be able to pick up nearby transmissions and feed them into the audio channels. You'll usually hear the cop chatter around 45 megahertz.
Hey, news on those segments. Some unlawful gathering at 351 and 2507 goes at 398. Things are going to get worse. Put our boots on their neck and they'll be quiet again. It's going to be a lot of fun beating the hell out of those cocky 404s.
That's the same squad I heard before. They're getting close. I don't want to be here to greet them. Doc.
But yeah, like they said, we need to head out of the city by going over the wall. And also we have a radio in our suit that lets us listen in on the radio chatter between the Combine soldiers.
Oh, I feel sick.
Shut up.
Next, Barney leads us to the exit, which basically is an abandoned construction site. Now here, something happened that I was not expecting at all. So, there's a bunch of cops cracking down on this place, right? A lot of them are in front of me, and then there's one on the turret gun. What I thought was that I would take out the gunner first and then take out the rest of the cops. But when I took out the gunner, this happened. You see, what happened was that there were these citizens right in front of the gunner under arrest. But when I took out the gunner, one of them jumped onto the turret and opened fire on the rest of the cops. This is such a nice little detail. I like it very much, cause I didn't expect this to happen.
Hey, look, thanks for the help, but you better get out of here.
Next, we end up in the downtrodden area where it starts to rain a little. Here I wanted to point out how hard it is to see the barnacle's tongue, I guess. I don't know, I feel like it might be good if it were just a tiny bit easier to see, because it's way too transparent, I think. Then we get more gunfights with the Combine. Then this dude picked up the shotgun and started shooting at the barnacle far away. And he also gave me a tip for some extra resources.
That building over there, where you came from, there's a stash. Look behind the painting on the second floor.
Man, this mod just doesn't fail with its awesome visuals. The ruined warehouse with a little bit of Zen infestation that will gradually increase as we go along. It all looks so amazing. Blowing a hole into the wall, we get into a fight with the Combine again, but now there's also two cremators as well. This fight was a bit of a challenge, but I like it. Oh yeah, this is exactly what I want. Dark and gritty in its purest form. Now we move on to the canals. It started to rain, it's more cloudier, the overall tone is much more gloomier, especially with that bluish shade. I always say, it's not easy making a dirty map. Sure, you can make a map, you can make a clean, good-looking map, but turning that map into a genuine, dirty-looking place is a special skill, I say. Like, they could have spammed the place with random decals, textures, and objects and would have been done with it, but I gotta say, I genuinely like the way this section looks because of how unique it is. Each section of it looks different, but all of it is same in nature. It's like if a city's administration stopped caring about recycling and, well, an evil intergalactic space empire took over Earth while we were also getting invaded by aliens. Yeah, I would say it would be pretty much like this. But yeah, man, this is again the equivalent of playing through Root Canal, but if Root Canal was much longer and better looking and actually a fun chapter. Please don't murder me for saying that. It's a joke. The longer duration of the chapter does reinforces the idea that City 17 is a very gigantic place. It takes this long to go out of it. That's something I always thought about in the retail game, that, Gordon is in the train station and then he goes to the outskirts in a matter of minutes. Here, Gordon is going through the canals, and on the sides you can see as Gordon is moving further away from the city. Like as he progresses, the surroundings is like the city buildings at first, and then there's the warehouses, and then the factories. All the while the Zen infestation becomes much worse as the game progresses. This is the type of world building I love to see in games. It makes perfect sense. Chapter 5, Down the Drain. As the name suggests, this takes place in the underground tunnels.
Heavy Patrol Group 3 is issued a maladjustment reprimand and a 10 ration penalty. If I hear about anything like this again, you'll be shipped cargo before you know it. Patrol the compound. Ground units, await your schematics download. Parasites by the teams are to stay on their posts and continue their work. Zorbo out.
On a side note, in my first playthrough, I genuinely did not like these radio chatters and communications, but playing it again, I do seem to grow fond of them. these radio chatters seem to add in a bit of depth to the Combine and the people who lead them. It's not like just Breen and a million soldiers reporting to him. There's commandants and commanders like Zabo and the rest who have their own groups and battalions within the force. It's a good addition, I must say, and it's ironic to say this, but it makes the Combine look a little bit more human, but in like a very messed up way. Now about the chapter itself, I generally just don't like underground tunnels or sewer levels in games. Like, in general, that's my bias. Even still, this is a good chapter. Somehow they managed to add in variety here too, with the different looking rooms and sections you'll go through. You even get to see the flocking floaters or bloaters or whatever they're called. These things. I think they are a cut monster from Half-Life 1. Also, my game literally freezed at this moment, and I thought this was about to turn into an ARG. The evil geezer incident. The geezer is evil incident. Or, something like that. Lamau. Now, some folks might think this chapter plays on for a bit longer than it should, but I think it offers enough variety, encounters, and breaks with the rebels to make it worthwhile. On a side note, this is the point where the original Part 2 Alpha ended, the demo, so everything after this point is all brand-specking new content added to the game.
It's you, the one they're hunting for. Come on in.
What? Oh, you're heading for the wall, yeah?
My view of the situation is, cross today, as soon as you can.
Walk right into Falconberry sector?
Our local brainwashed drama queen, known as Commander Falconberry, is not too popular beyond his own garrison, so they're not in a huge rush to help him, yet.
Our only shotgun was eaten by a bull squig, so you can take the ammo.
Now, I've personally played through this chapter multiple times, and honestly, I had quite a lot of fun each time. Until the Hydra showed up. Okay, don't get mad yet, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm polarized about the Hydra. I think the implementation of it is very cool. Seeing it pop up was a great surprise, and fighting it was fun too. You just need to shoot it at its roots for maximum damage, or you could just toss a grenade. That usually works for most things. But the polarizing part is this. I think during the second half of this chapter, the Hydra was overused. That might be my personal feeling, but I feel that during the second half of this chapter, there should have been a bit more variety in terms of the enemies we fight. Mainly, I would have loved to see more Combine and the Hydra. Like, the Hydra would have been a threat to all parties. But a majority of the second half is just the Hydra, and at one point, you'll definitely go, another Hydra, Still, the locales you see and go through make up for it. I think all of it looks fantastic visually. You got a normal Hydra and a more girthy Hydra, which is a bit harder to kill and more deadly. Plus, I like this type of enemy. It's like stationary like a barnacle, but it can attack you to a certain range. You can either shoot at it around the base or, just throw a grenade, like I said. Also, the aquatic variant of the bull squid was a nice touch too. I was surprised to see him in this pool when I jumped in to get a valve to open one of the sewer gates. This part here was nice. I like how the details of it signify that this was once a normal human structure, but the Combine structures on top has ripped it apart, and whatever building this was and the ground underneath it is now split in two. The ruins and the debris at the bottom added to the abandoned nature of the place as well. This was a simple wire and fuse sequence, which was nice. A little bit of interactivity with the map itself is always appreciated. Going up the lift, this leads us to the outside area. This heavily reminded me of the 2003 canals and also the older versions as well. So it's like a very nice type of amalgamation of old and new, and I mean that in a very good way. So after the driver gets yanked out of the APC, we get a pleasant surprise. The APC is drivable, fully modeled interior and all. You can shoot the machine gun turret, the rockets, and hell, you can even jump too. Now we're on to chapter 6. In the grand scheme of things, I think this was my favorite out of the 4 new chapters they added into the game. While the APC isn't as like loosey-goosey like the airboat or quick to turn like the scout car, the overall experience was very nice. The combat with other APCs and combine soldiers, the journey to and from landmarks we stop at, and just the general vibe of the maps, especially the skyboxes, was so good. There were also repair stations every now and then that would repair the APC, so that was definitely a nice thing to have. Now, the APC aside, this chapter works like Water Hazard in a way. Every so often you'll come across a roadblock or something that's blocking your way, so you need to get out and clear the way on foot. The first place we stop at is literally that one beta map about the barge, the gas canisters, and the crane. You know the one. This kinda took me by surprise, cause when I looked at it I was like, wait a minute. That's so cool. Quite a charming nod to the original. Anyway, we get up where the combine are holed up and get into a bit of a disagreement. After that, similar to Water Hazard, we blow up some barrels to open the roadblock. Oh, also we got the OICW here as well. I've noticed that some people have an issue with how it looks, but for me personally I love it because it doesn't have that gigantic scope that the actual weapon has. I know, it's not realistic, but I much rather prefer this sci-fi variant of it. Functionally, it's similar to the AR-1, but it has a secondary attack that's basically a grenade launcher. Anyway, we continue distributing absolute chaos throughout the canals while the Combine are freaking out. Also, we get introduced to Commander Falconberry.
Falconberry to all units. Cauterize any armor infected by primary. I repeat, shoot the bastard with all you've got. Read your commander.
Falconberry is an interesting character. He's a no-nonsense kind of guy, very serious, and apparently there's something personal between him and Gordon. But that? We don't know yet, but we will. Soon. When I got to this part, it heavily reminded me of that one giant wall map from the beta. Again, such a nice way to integrate the original beta maps into the game. Like, it's not the OG map itself, but rather the idea of that map redone here. So anyway, the Combine have closed up the gate ahead, and obviously we need to get up this huge structure and go to the control room and open up the gate. When we're moving across the section, a chopper shows up and open fires at us. This was a tense scene because there's debris blocking the path and we have to move around it. Then we get to the turret, take the chopper down, and open the gate.
This is your garrison commander. Shut off the equipment. Your evac is in 15 minutes.
Sure, but we're having a surge.
This arena-like section was pretty cool, especially the water reflections, because you shoot the rockets and it goes right above the surface of the water, and you know what I'm saying, it's pretty cool. Here we go up against multiple APCs at the same time, but it's not as hard as it sounds. You can maneuver around the map, isolate the enemy APCs and pick them off one by one. Then we come across this industrial looking area with a very heavy Combine presence. On normal difficulty, I had my ass handed to me in this section, but here, on easy, I had a much more fun time, while it still remained a good challenge. Now that we're knee deep in Commander Falconberry's territory, he's not gonna be very happy. Actually, he'll be very much pissed off. On the radio, we can hear the communication between him and Overwatch.
Attention 7 sector forces. Deprioritize anti-citizen Freeman containment. Fall back to hardpoints and hold for override codes.
Relay that. Full silence and forwarded frequencies. LCT only.
All of this is basically the starting point of the boss fight with him.
I've seen your work before. The trail of bodies around that damn rocket silo. It makes sense that we're here. After all this time. Nowhere for you to run, Doctor. What? No, this is wrong.
And there's the revelation. Falconberry was at Black Mesa. He was one of the HECU soldiers we took down at the rocket silo, and all these years later, through fate and luck, he comes face to face with the killer of his comrades. Now the fight itself is pretty simple, and since I'm playing on easy difficulty, it is, easy. Because you have to dodge the commander's attacks from the choppers while running through this place to get back to the top. Using the turret gun, you have to time your attacks. When the chopper attacks, you get behind cover. Simple as that. Though one thing I would love to see is extending this fight in some capacity. Maybe after the chopper goes down, we see Falconberry, charred and burnt, emerge from the chopper ready to take on Gordon face to face. Like he would be wearing some sort of special armor or something, so it would be a challenge to take him down. Something like that, you know? Because the build up to Falconberry is pretty awesome. You hear him quite a ways back in the game and keep learning about him as you progress through the canals. But when it comes to the climax of the encounter, I feel like the battle is over way too early. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. After the fight, we climb the tall structure at the back, and as we look back, we reminisce about the journey so far. The trials and tribulations we went through, the challenges we surpassed, and this final look back at the horizon might be depressing, but it is a sign of hope, a sign of things to come, the perfect storm. Because we'll return to City 17 one day, but for now, we need to go beyond the wall and enter the wasteland. So this starts with the old city, ruins of the pre-war civilization that the Universal Union completely demolished, and then... I'm not gonna lie, this has to be one of the best looking scenes I've ever seen in a Half-Life 2 mod. It's just so damn beautiful, man. The crater in the center, the ruins in the back, the cloudy skybox with the sun shining through is just so good looking. Now we're at chapter 7. I don't think this is the wasteland chapter, but technically we're in the wasteland. Apart from the stunning visuals and semi-open-ended nature of the map, there's no significant event that happens in this chapter. It is rather used as sort of like a world-building tool to show you how things are outside the city and outside the Combine's total control. You'll come across all sorts of structures, aliens, Zen flora, and everything in between. You're free to move around and check stuff out, but the way to progress is on the opposite side of the map. The crater in the center is super radioactive, so it's immediate death if you go there. Moving ahead, I came across a bunch of Combine soldiers doing some sort of cleanup of Zen's creatures. Shortly after that, I encountered Camo soldiers, which was a nice surprise. Like, I just saw a laser pointing at me from a distance till I realized I'm about to get shot. There was also this old building, which may have been some sort of museum or maybe some government building, who knows. Was neat to see that too. While streaming, a lot of people were saying that I missed out on something here. So I tried to move around and search for it, but I didn't see anything, sadly. These small jumpy things are called the hoppers, and they are a passive monster. Unless you attack them though, then you're gonna get eaten alive by these things. It's horrible. From the caves, we end up in this pass between the rocky terrain. Here we see this fella. I forgot his name, but he's a friendly fella. A chill fella even. I forgot what his name is. After eating a bunch of alien balls to regain my health, I casually strolled ahead, but something wasn't right. Oh yeah, it's a mini boss battle with the crab synth. So basically it works like this. You gotta damage it up, and then it goes into this shield mode, where it can't take any damage, but once it recovers, it'll start shooting you with its machine gun and rockets. You can easily dodge the rockets, but if you get caught in the gunfire, it'll pretty much deplete all your health or straight up kill you. You being aware of your surrounding is pretty important while fighting the crab, which I wasn't, but I still somehow managed to kill it though. After this, it's business as usual, going through the canyon while looking at some very pretty Zen flora and fighting antlions and whatnot. No, the mortar synths showed up as well, that was nice. It's a flying enemy that does ranged attacks. One big surprise though was seeing the particle storm straight up jork a bunch of antlions. Love to see all these old and cut concepts show up in a proper experience like this. This radiation goo filled area was cool looking. Thankfully it doesn't do too much damage because I'm very bad at parkour. Clearing that, we show up at a rebel outpost.
Well, well, if I had a suit like that, I'd be going to the other end of that pipe more often. You can't stay. There's another camp further ahead, and you can't stay there either. Sorry, it's nothing personal. Don't make him mad.
Unlike the retail rebels, they're not like, "Oh my god, Freeman, you're our savior, let us do everything for you." Instead, these beta rebels are like, "Oh hey, Gordon Freeman, get out." So once again, it's back to fighting Zen creatures and antlions. We do that until we see a Vortigaunt and a Houndeye. The Vortigaunt basically pacified the hostile creatures in this area, so all of them will be helping us out. Help us with what? Well,
Retract autonomously.
the battle was won, but our new Vortigaunt friend did not make it.
Fantastic!
After this, we reach the next outpost, chill a little, and then see the particle storm yoink a whole ass crab synth out of existence. I really like these caves and the caverns bit, cause if you look in the leaked maps, there were actually quite a few of these antlion caves maps in there. So seeing that idea come to fruition in a modern way is really nice to see. And I mean, that same idea was used for episode 2 as well, so I digress. Afterwards, we end up in this place, which I'm guessing is that it's a dried up seabed or beach or something. We can hear music coming from the submarine, but I decided to look around a little. Though all I saw were aliens and one of the chill fellas squirted on my face, so I ran back to the submarine. Inside there's a small opening we can crawl into that leads us into the secret hideout. Here, we meet a new character.
They all told you to hit the road and get lost, haven't they? Any toes stubbed by the door? No? Be nice and we won't harm you. Get the door back up. So, Golden Freeman. You can call me Eli. Simply Eli. No second names, no monikers, no inquiries.
Dog and Eli. I don't think they're going with the original Eli Maxwell character word for word, because you know, this Eli looks and sounds different. I mean, he's French. Bonjour! Though his function in the story, or at least so far, is similar to what Eli Maxwell was supposed to do in the beta. While streaming, this redesign of Eli was something of a polarizing character for the people watching. Some were fans of the design and some were not, really. But objectively, I think it's a pretty good job that they did with the character model and the voice acting. The only controversial, and I say that with big quote marks, controversial thing about this is that he just looks and sounds different. He's pretty much the same as Eli Maxwell in function. Anyway, in Eli's hideout, we can look around. Some things tells us about Eli's past, some things are just interactable. There's references to the lore of the beta, stuff like that, and I like the placement of Mark Laidlaw's book in here as well. Once you're done looking around, you can go to sleep. And I like how Gordon straight up throws his suit to the ground and hits the hay. He's so tired, man. Of course, this leads us to a nightmare sequence. The nightmare is mostly symbolic. It kind of shows Gordon of his past, present, and maybe the future. Also, the one manipulating Gordon's mind obviously can be seen in the distance, the G-Man. Though he never interacts with us here, his presence is ever present. When we wake up, Eli has our suit because he fixed it up and even enabled the radio locator on it, which I will think will help us in the later maps in the game. After putting on the suit, Eli goes on a lengthy slideshow about what happened in the past and gives his accounts of all these things. The slideshow was nice, and I like that they added Roki in there too. You know, the dude from that mod, Swelter. This again is one of the things that were present in the original storyline. Gordon would come across Eli out in the wasteland and Eli would tell Gordon about everything that had happened. So it's basically that, but in a mod. This is one of those parts where you have to see it for yourself, honestly. It's kinda nice, you can take your time and look at the slides and appreciate the work that they did in modifying the images. It's kind of a nice way to do world building. My favorite was the one with the Ichiosaur in the fucking pool. What? Next, Eli says he has something for us and leads us to the junkyard. There, he asks Dog to get the cannon, which of course is the gravity gun. Now this whole bit is just the game teaching the player about the gravity gun. We have to locate these transmitters with our new radar. The radios aren't hard to find, so I was finished with this pretty quickly. Once we get back, we play a bit of catch with Dog, but then... Okay, so this is a pretty abrupt ending, I must say, but still, it was awesome. Like, I genuinely want to see what happens after Gordon gets sucked by the particle storm. So yeah, that's Dark Interval Part 2. Overall, I have to say that they've done an outstanding job on this. Sure, I had a few hiccups here, or a thought or two to share there, but in the end, I was a very happy man. While Dark Interval has always preferred to implement a unique take on the beta concepts, I appreciate them still keeping some of the OG's idea as they were. All maps are pretty much designed on the same level as Valve would have done so, and it is quite literally insane to think about that this is how advanced mods have gotten over the years. And with this release, I think we're almost to the halfway point regarding the overall beta story. However, I might be wrong about that. Hopefully in the coming years, maybe we'll see a part 3 demo, and then a part 3 release as well. On the negative side of things, I don't really have anything to say. The most I can think of is the Hydra and their overuse in the underground sewers section. Maybe a bit of balancing might be nice on the normal difficulty too, but that's not a big deal. So yeah, without a doubt, go check this mod out if you haven't. It's one hell of an experience, from start to finish. Thanks so much for watching, and a big thanks and shout out goes to these lovely benefactors on screen. You watching the videos and supporting the channel motivates me to make more videos like these. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.